There we go. So good morning and welcome to Storytime Basics, the virtual version. My name is Rebecca Ansel. I'm the Youth Services Consultant here at the South Carolina State Library. I've been here for about 4.5 years, and before that I was with Charleston County. And before that I was up in North Carolina at a couple of smaller libraries. So been all over the place in libraries of all sizes. If you will, if you want to unmute and introduce yourself, or if you would rather type in chat, that's fine as well. I'd like to get to know our group that's here a little bit. If you can give your name, your library, the age group that you work with, and what your friends call you. So introduce yourself with your name, your library or school, because I know we've got a couple of school folks with us, the age group that you work with, and what your friends call you. Katie Jo. Ages 0 to 12. Very nice, Allie. I like that. Hi, Berlene. Good to see you. Or chat at you, as the case may be. Oh, Celeste, welcome, welcome. We like having folks that are brand new to Storytime. You are in exactly the right place. The weird girl who is obsessed with Pokemon. Yeah, I think we all probably have some of those nicknames as well. The library lady. That person who's always dropping off baked goods. Hi, Patty. At the college library. Oh, very interesting. Mary Lou from Florence. Baby Storytimes. Oh, I miss Baby Storytimes so much. It's like a physical ache. Hi, Evelyn. Call me there. Yes. I always enjoy that. Okay. Who else? Take a second to introduce yourself with your name, the library that you work at, the age group that you work with, and what your friends call you. I am evenly split between Rebecca and Becca. I don't mind either. And I'm always very interested in seeing who goes with what. Hi, Ashley. Work with ages 11 to 18. Oh, very interesting. So you joined us for Storytime training this morning just to have a good time. I like it, which we are. So good choice. I've worked with all ages, and my like off the cuff response is always, oh, the babies are the most fun. But also the preschoolers are the most fun, and also the tweens are a lot of fun, and also the teens are a lot of fun. So I basically just enjoy working with all ages. Storytime is more intense than a lot of people assume, which those of you who have been doing Storytime for a while already know. It's not just walking into a room and singing songs with children. Although, if you're doing it right, you can make it look easy. So, all right, did we get through everybody? Anybody else need to introduce themselves? Hi, Amy. Looks like we've gotten about everybody. If you're just joining us and just seeing the chat, if you can introduce yourself in the chat with your name, your library, the age group that you work with, and what your friends call you. Hi, Bobby. I see, Bobby, you're one of those ones that always confuses me because sometimes you sign your emails Bobby and sometimes you sign them Roberta. So I figure it just depends on how you're feeling that day, and I try to respond likewise. So I'll give a couple more minutes, because if we were in person, we would be going around the room doing this and it would take quite a while. So even if we can't be face to face, we can still take some time to enjoy each other. Hi, Joy. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning, Andrea. And hello, Patricia. Good to have everyone with us today. For those of you who missed my introduction, I'm Rebecca Antel. I'm the Youth Services Consultant at the South Carolina State Library. I've been here about 4.5 years. Allie says she is known as the baby whisperer since she does most of the baby story times. Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to type that in. I am going to go ahead and share my screen and we are going to get started. Let's see. With Storytime Basics. So, let me get my screens figured out here so that I'm still actually looking at the camera. Let's try that. There, that's better. Okay. No, I don't want it over there. Now listen here, you. Hey, Jessica, I wondered what you were doing with us this morning. I'm like, I don't have anything to teach Jessica. Why is she here? Okay, that makes more sense. All right, so let me see if I can make this do what I want it to do. And if it will behave. You're going to do the things this time? Nope, you're still going to go over there. All right, so you can all see the slides, correct? I'm going to assume that there were yeses. Okay, there we go. Thumbs up. Excellent. All right, so here we go. So welcome to Storytime Basics. Our usual caveat, project is made possible by LSTA funding. This is important because at the end you will be receiving an evaluation. It is super important that you fill that evaluation out for us because every time we report back on how we spent our monies, they like to see what the outcomes were and what people learned. And if this was a useful, a helpful use of your time, if you would like more trainings like these, if you want something different, we sit and read through all of those evaluations. When we had in-person trainings, I always reminded folks that it did no good for them to complain about the temperature of the building because I can't control that, but you can complain about the trainings because that's what I'm in charge of. So tell me what you want more of. We do the best that we can. So what is Storytime and why is it important for the library to provide, for the public library, for a school, for anyone? Why is Storytime important? And that's a question out to you all. Who's got an answer for me? It helps bridge the literacy gap. Yes. This is like being in a story time with a bunch of little kids. There are no wrong answers. Come on, y'all. Why is Storytime important? Yes, it helps develop language skills in everybody, not just babies. Storytime is important because many parents don't realize how important talking to their children and reading every day is. Yes, Allie, that is one of the prime reasons for Storytime. Encouraging children to read. Brings people to the library. I don't know, Katie, I'm on the edge with that. So the virtual story times for the past year, were they less important because they weren't bringing people to the library? Just to play devil's advocate. To promote new books, yep. Oh, and there's always so many great new picture books. Yes, so these are all really, really great reasons. Storytime is an incredible early literacy, early learning tool. And the library, the public library, is one of the only places that provides this free for all families. And here in South Carolina, and these are pre-pandemic numbers, so I don't know what has necessarily changed over the past year and what this will look like as we go into 2021 and beyond. But pre-pandemic, only about 60%, well, let's flip-flopped, only about 40% of children ages 4 and younger were in any type of daycare, okay? So 60% of our kids here in South Carolina under the age of 4 are at home, learning from their parents, learning from their grandparents, learning from their primary caregiver. So they're not with a child care provider, they're not in school. Where are they getting their early literacy information? They're potentially getting some of that from their pediatrician. They should be, but that's assuming that the pediatrician has time. That's assuming that the pediatrician has early literacy and early learning knowledge, that they have taken the time out of learning all of the other doctor things that they're supposed to know to keep track of early literacy things. So all of that to say, the library is the primary place where parents, caregivers, families have access to knowledge and models of early literacy. That's why Storytime is so important. I sort of feel like my slides are a little bit out of order for this, but according to Every Child Ready to Read, Storytime is to foster a love of books, which many of you said, and it is to foster a love of literacy in children, to give families a welcome and positive library experience, to model and articulate good reading techniques to parents and caregivers. What do you not see listed in there? Storytime is not free babysitting, and Storytime is not weekly entertainment. And it can be really easy to fall into that trap. Yes, exactly, Allie. It can be really easy to fall into that misconception. And for a long time, I would say that a lot of public libraries kind of went along with that because we were getting door count, we were getting program numbers, that we were getting people in the doors. And simply bringing people through the doors does not actually impact their lives. So it's really important to remember that Storytime is the opportunity for us as early literacy experts. In many cases, the only early literacy experts that these parents and caregivers will ever be exposed to in the first 4 to 5 years. An opportunity to share the information and the knowledge that we have with those families and caregivers. Storytime should be fun. It should be age appropriate. It should be educational. It should incorporate all 5 of the ECRR practices. It should use developmentally appropriate books, finger plays, rhymes, songs, puppetry, music, all of the above. And I want to reiterate, it should be fun, but it should not be merely entertainment. Let's see. So, nope, I'm gonna back up. And if anybody really likes those posters, we have them available. You can ask me for one and I'll send you them for your Storytime room or your library. We have a couple different designs. So, Storytime should incorporate all 5 of the practices. Every Child Ready to Read practices. Who can list the 5 Every Child Ready to Read practices for me? And I'm going to stop my screen share for just a minute so that I can see the chat a little bit easier. And you can either type them into chat or unmute and list them out. All 5 of the Every Child Ready to Read practices. I should have had the Jeopardy theme song ready to play. Talking, singing, reading, writing, playing. Good job. Okay. Who has been in the library world long enough to know the 6 skills that came before the 5 practices? Oh, very good. Phonological awareness, print awareness, I have them on a cheat sheet, so there's that. Anybody else know any of them? They were really hard. So ECRR came out and they were like, here are the 6 skills that every child needs in order to be ready to learn to read when they go into school. And they were impossible to remember. They were also really, really difficult for anyone without an early education background to be able to explain to a parent. The 5 practices are difficult enough. Yep, narrative skills. The last ones are letter knowledge, vocabulary, and print motivation. It's important. I would say it's important to know both, because there are elements of some of those 6 that didn't carry over into their more easy to remember talking, singing, reading, writing, playing. Because reading and print awareness and print motivation are slightly different. Would anyone like to try and pin that down? And if you are new to Every Child Ready to Read, in May, we've got several sessions coming up with Betsy Diamond Cohen. She developed Mother Goose on the Loose and is also one of the national Every Child Ready to Read trainers. And she'll be providing 2 different workshops for us on 2 different dates. So I encourage you to look at those. She's only going to be doing 30 attendees live, but they will be recorded and posted on our Niche Academy. So sort of the difference between reading and the difference between print motivation is that children understand what a book is, how a book works. They understand that those symbols on a page are words made up of letters, and that's a very important skill and understanding for pre-reading. Print motivation includes children being excited to write, excited to find print anywhere. So making sure that you reiterate to parents that they can, point out the letters on a stop sign, point out the words on a billboard, point out the print on the cereal box or their children's favorite snack, and help them tie in that knowledge of print is here and print is here and print is in all of these different places, print awareness and print motivation. Versus reading. It's a little bit more broad. So the state library provides training about every other year on Every Child Ready to Read. And like I said, we'll have those once next month. If you do not have an Every Child Ready to Read binder, let me know. We've been working on making sure that we've got one in every library system, if not every branch. So many of you should already have them. You should have one at your main libraries. But if you do not have one at your branch, I've got extras and I'm happy to send you them. We also have the brochures with the 5 practices listed and different ideas for implementing them in Storytime. So those can be really helpful to pass out to parents, to slip in the grab and go bags that you're prepping, or to slip inside the picture books as people are picking up their holds and some things like that, versus just having them out, since a lot of our libraries aren't doing browsing and some things like that. All right, so, and I'm hearing from Tiffany that my PowerPoint was still not showing right. Yes, I thought that I was in presentation mode, but apparently that was not happening. All right, so how about now? All right, cool. So what story time is, what story time is not. Let's look at age groups. A good story time is going to be developmentally appropriate, which we already talked about. And for some libraries, many of you have small enough communities that you're going to be doing more of an every age story time or a family story time, and we'll look at those last and kind of talk about how you would incorporate, how you would prepare for something like that. Because each age group needs the same things, but they need them in different ways because of developmental ages and stages. What's appropriate for a preschooler is not going to be appropriate for a baby. The toys that you would have in a room, or in the activities or the craft that you would think about doing with a baby are not going to be appropriate for a preschooler, and vice versa. So that's some of the thought and preparation that needs to go into as you prepare for your story times. And let's see. Before we get into what each of those look like, how many of you remembered to bring your books with you? Because we are going to do some breakout rooms and talk about a little bit more of the 5 practices and what is developmentally appropriate. There we go. So while Tiffany's putting together the breakout rooms, here's what I want you guys to do, either in the chat, or if you can go ahead and unmute and talk amongst yourselves. I want you to pull a book or two out of your pile that you have there with you, or just one that you have in your mind, and talk about why you use it and why it is good for talking to parents, showing parents, reading, writing, talking, singing, playing. And then we'll come back together and we'll look at a couple of those examples. Why you would use that particular book with a particular age group and not with another. And like I said, we'll come back and we'll talk about that as a group all together. So you are going to have about 10 minutes in your group. If you get through everybody, work on some more of the practices. Perfect. Thank you, Tiffany. And so in your breakout rooms, let me go ahead and type the instructions into chat. What story time or picture book doesn't, see, I hate to say picture book because what do you like to illustrate one of the 5 ECRR practices? All right. So go enjoy your small group discussions, and then All right, welcome back, everyone. We'll wait for everybody to make their way out of the rooms and come on back. There we go. All right, so hopefully you all had some good conversations in your breakout rooms. I would love to hear some examples of what you talked about. I know Allie in our breakout room, she had a really interesting example of one that she uses to talk about writing. And who else? Who else had a book title that they would like to share? You can either unmute and talk about it, or go ahead and post the title and the skill that you use to illustrate in the chat. One of the ones that I use a lot is Changes. It's a child's first poetry collection, and it has a lot of just very short, simple little poems about the seasons and weather. And I like to use that one because it works in a lot of interesting vocabulary. Most poetry does. And it's just really good for introducing new vocabulary and for talking about that skill of singing, because poetry is song. Who else has one to share? Yes, so Allie put in the chat, Rita and Ralph's Rotten Day has a finger play that goes along with the story. So if you're working with young children, or if you're reading a book in general, it can be hard to really see where writing fits into reading a book. You can do a lot of different writing activities. But if you have a book that asks you to trace shapes or numbers or letters, or that has letters in them big enough for a child's finger to trace, that is a pre-writing skill. As children learn to follow the shapes of letters, and they learn to develop those fine motor skills required to hold a crayon and hold a pen and pencil. Who else has one to share? Baby Loves, oh, I love Baby Loves Summer by Karen Katz, a Lift the Flatboard book where baby looks for what's behind an item. Yep, reading and playing. Lift the Flat books are always so much fun. A little bit difficult to use in Storytime, but great for one-on-one with parents. My Truck is Stuck is great for reading. It has varying sizes in text and a lot of repetition. Yeah, so it's good for vocabulary. Mary Lou, I don't usually use board books in face-to-face story time because of the size. Oh yes, that's one of the great things about virtual story time. We've been able to get into a lot more books that we would never do in a face-to-face. So there's one of the positives that has come out of the pandemic. There haven't been a lot, but that's one. I would also say that we've reached more folks. No, maybe not more, but people that we wouldn't have normally have reached have been able to do a lot of programming virtually. So even as we get back to in-person programs, I hope that that some of those virtual things will continue. Who else? Who else has a book to share? So let me pull my agenda back up and make sure that we are on track. Okay, so let's go ahead and thank you all for taking the time in the breakout rooms to look at some of our different book titles. We're going to go ahead and go back to the screen share. There we go. So our different ages of story time and what that looks like. The best practices for all story times. Prepare ahead of time. This is going to look different for everybody, but in order for us to provide a strong, knowledgeable, early literacy, well thought out story time, it should not just be you going to the bookshelf 5 minutes before story time occurs and saying, let's see, this one's my favorite, and this one's my favorite, and this one's my favorite, and that's what we're going to read today. I worked at a library in North Carolina where we had to have 3 months of programming at a time prepped and on our programming shelves in the youth services office. And that was books, craft materials, songs, everything all laid out in a bundle. I'm not saying you have to do that either, although that made my organizational heart very happy. I was really happy to do that. But the day before, if not the week before, to sit down, talk about talk your way through the books that you're going to use. What is the theme, or what is the specific literacy tip or parenting tip that you're hoping to get across in this story time? What is it that you want children to walk out and remember? And a little bit of this is that classroom management idea. The knowledge that what we're teaching kids is the foundation that they need for going into school and becoming solid readers. What we are not doing is providing them 45 minutes of entertainment. What it can be is a mixture of both. Have all of your songs, your rhymes, your finger plays, have those visible for the parents and the caregivers, whether they're up on a screen, up on a poster board, whether you have a handout that they can take with them each week so that they have those songs and rhymes and finger plays available to take with them, because the point is that you are teaching the parents things that they go home and do with their kids. Don't be afraid to take a break. Especially, and I want to reiterate this because this has come up a couple of times these past 2 weeks in conversation with some folks, even virtually. Don't be afraid to take a break and say, we're going to take the next 2 weeks off from Storytimes because it takes me time to prepare these. And it is an important use of my time to prepare these well. And sometimes I need a break from that. That A, gives you a break, and B, it helps reiterate to parents and caregivers that what you're doing has value and takes time. And I also strongly encourage you to learn the names of your children, the parents and the caregivers, and cultivate a relationship with them. It can be incredibly rewarding. Is that harder to do now? Yes. It is really hard to do virtually. If you're doing a live story time, just like I've tried to do here this morning, if you can call on people by name, if you can say hello to people by name, if you're doing a recorded story time, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But go back and look at who watched your recorded story time from last week. Say, hey, Allie, I noticed that you watched our story time this week. I hope that you and Jamie are going to be watching again today, and I'm really excited to be able to share these stories with you. Call out a couple folks by name if you can, and it's cool. It's exciting. It's really rewarding to a child to hear their name. So I really, really encourage you to do that at every opportunity. A baby story time should be can be, I always hate to say should, because again, it looks a little bit different. 15 to 20 minutes long, max, 20 minutes max. With, at all possible, unstructured playtime afterwards for another 20 to 30 minutes. And this is a great opportunity for new moms to get to know each other, to get to sit with an adult that they haven't gotten to sit with an adult for an entire week because they've been taking care of baby. It's a great time for you to have conversations with parents about what they're experiencing, what they're going through. I really love unstructured playtime in a story time room afterwards. And this is not you walking out the door and leaving the parents to do this. This is you sitting down and playing with the parent or the caregiver and their child, and taking the opportunity to find out a little bit about what's going on, to answer questions that they may have about how they could repeat that craft activity at home. It's really, really helpful. It's really, really needed for a lot of parents who don't have that interaction. Goodbye, welcome songs and goodbye songs should be the same. If you get tired of doing one, I recommend for like a year, an entire year of story time, you use the same welcome song and the same goodbye song. It provides structure. It helps kids understand cause and effect. This is happening. We're singing this song, which means that stories are coming next and I need to sit down. Okay, we're singing this song, which means the stories are done and now we get to play. It provides structure in those boundaries. So for a baby story time, you're looking at 15 to 20 minutes, maybe. Really, you're closer to 12 or 15 most of the time. A story, a bunch of songs and rhymes, maybe another story if it can be at all interactive. Do that. Do a couple more songs, do a goodbye song. There were times when I would be doing baby story time where we had one or two that were teething and grumpy, and they would be unhappy, and that would make all of the other babies unhappy. And so we just did 8 to 10 minutes of songs and rhymes, and then we transitioned into play, because there was no way that those babies were going to sit there and listen to a story. But mom needed out of the house, baby needed a little bit of interaction. No one was actually sick, we were just grumpy. So you're giving everybody an opportunity to get out, to learn, but don't make them sit through a book when they can't do it. That just creates bad feelings towards books, and then you've got a lost reader, and we don't want that. So that's baby story time. When you're doing baby story time, if you can incorporate a book that has faces like this one, I really encourage you to do so. If you can use books that are black and white, I really encourage you to do so, because babies start in black and white and then they start to see primary colors. So you don't want a lot of busy things going on. You don't want a lot of color. You want books that are as simple and as concise and as clear cut as possible, ones where they can see themselves reflected. Be always aware of using diverse and multicultural titles, so that baby can see another baby that looks like them. If you want some good websites to look at, Baby Garden and Mother Goose on the Loose are both baby storytime curriculums that are worth looking into. And if you want to know more about developmental stages, there's the website for that. Y'all will get these slides along with a list of other links to look at. So, and don't forget to model the practices. Okay, so toddler story time, 20 to 25 minutes. You can see it's a little bit longer than a baby story time. Again, same welcome song, same goodbye song for the exact same reasons. You want to think about doing a book, a song, a rhyme, something active. A second book, keep them short. 3 to 4 more songs or rhymes or finger plays, and then your goodbye song. And then finish off with, again, I would highly recommend some unstructured playtime if you have that ability to do that at your library, or doing a simple craft, something that parent, caregiver, and child can do together, something that encourages that time shared and conversational give and take between caregiver and child is really helpful. What you want to avoid for toddler story times is really, really long books. Let's see. Me personally, I love Is Your Mama a Llama? And the words are good for toddlers, but the book itself is really long. The story is really long. You can use this in story time. I would probably cut out 4 or 5 pages. I would think about doing it as a flannel or with puppets rather than reading the entire book, something that's a little bit more eye-catching and interactive. You know, some things to keep in mind for toddler story time, if at all possible, an enclosed space is best. They're runners. That's okay. That's where they are in their developmental stage. If you can have them in a meeting room or the storytime room with the doors closed, and remember, as you're setting up your storytime room, that you don't necessarily want a lot of things down low that they can grab, because they're going to be active. They're toddlers. That's where they're at. That's developmentally appropriate for where they're at. And it's important sometimes to have that conversation with the parents. Little Johnny is running around. That is what little Johnny is doing at this point. If little Johnny is running around and hitting little Beth on the head with a book, that is not appropriate, and we will curb that behavior. So it's important for us as the library staff, as those early literacy experts, to be aware of what is appropriate and what isn't, and to not be afraid to have those conversations with the parents and the caregivers. There's a couple of websites here that talk about emerging literacy skills that are really good, as well as storytime planning that can be really, really helpful. Okay, so then preschool storytime. The longest storytime, the ones that you can have the most fun with. 35 to 45 minutes long, with some type of STEAM activity, craft afterwards, because this is the age group that is really just, they're active, they're ready to learn, they're ready to follow directions and have those activities and those boundaries laid out for them. They're ready to explore. Again, welcome song, goodbye song as the bookends to your program. Same one every week, so that they learn, here's the welcome song. We're coming in, we're sitting down on our carpet square, we're getting ready to listen. A book, a rhyme, a book, a song, a book, a goodbye song. There was a very structured early literacy preschool story time that I did when I was with Charleston. And we would do an activity or two in between our books that was very related to what the book was. So for example, if we did something with colors, if we were reading a book about colors and we are specifically talking about colors, then we would do some type of an activity of color sorting, or we would do, we would go through and we would identify, we would do a song with colors and some things like that. And so everything tied into that theme of colors for that week. We were reading, you know, The Three Little Pigs. And so then we would read the book, we would talk about the story, we would work on building our own houses that couldn't fall down. We would read another book, maybe a twisted version of The Three Little Pigs. And so some things like that to tie it all in together. Some preschool storytime resources. I love Jayberry. If you have not explored Jayberry, do it now. Well, do it when we're done. It is excellent. I absolutely love it. One of the reasons that I love preschool story time is that you can really start to get into the what I would say some of the best picture books, those longer ones with more of a plot and more character development and a little bit more story. They're just a lot of fun. If you are not familiar with the South Carolina Early Learning Standards, again, I strongly encourage you to look these up. The link here is for the accessible PDF version, but you should also have a copy of the booklet at your library. If you don't have one at your branch, ask your youth services manager or coordinator. They should have it. If nobody knows where it is, send me an email and I'll send you another copy. These early learning standards are what the preschools, the child care providers, the daycares are what they are all using, and what they're talking to parents about. And so it will help you in your educational practice. It will help reinforce with the parents that what the library is doing is equally important. They also have different activities and ideas for how to implement those learning standards. So very similar things to Every Child Ready to Read. When you're talking about the domain of reading and getting children ready to read, here are some different ways that you can incorporate that into your classroom or storytime room. So I cannot recommend enough that you take a look at those and work on incorporating some of those into your story times, and as well as the vocabulary into what you're talking about with your parents. And I am going to stop sharing so that, oh, see, look at all that I was missing on the chat. I hate that. Yes, modeling interactive play. Love Jayberry. Yes, you will get a copy of the presentation, and I'm assuming the recording. So what I want to do, there we go. I forgot to show a book for toddlers, a book that I do recommend, Jump Frog Jump. Similar in short words to Is Your Mama a Llama? But it's almost a little bit long. It's repetitive, which is super important for toddlers, and it has something that they can do. So you can have everybody get up and jump every time we say jump, frog, jump, or just have them shout it with you, which every child loves to do. Just have them shout, jump, frog, jump. So something in the book that is repetitive that they can either say or do is a really good match for a toddler story time. I also really love this one, Island Born. Let's see if I can get up to the author. There we go. I love the illustrations in this one. I absolutely love the pictures. This one is really, really long. I don't even know. I mean, look at all that text. I don't even know that I would use this one in a preschool story time. I might think about using this one in a family story time, perhaps, because it's also very family oriented and could start a lot of really great conversations. But again, so much text. I would really hesitate to use this one in a story time at all, except I love the illustrations and I love the story. I'm always torn on that one. Another really good book for babies or for toddlers is Goodnight Moon, because of the repetition because of the very simple illustrations. It's a classic, but I continue to love it. Kids continue to love it. Any of you who know me know that I really enjoy sarcasm. It's how I hug. And so I like books that have that ironic sense of humor, or maybe a little bit of reveal at the end. And so one of my very favorites is The Bear Ate Your Sandwich. And if you've never read this story before, it's about a bear who wakes up in the morning and feels a little bit hungry. So he gets on a pickup truck and ends up eating all of the berries and falling asleep and taking a ride into the city, which he did not expect. And so he gets into the city and finds himself in a completely new place. And so he wanders around the city for a while, although there's a lot of people. So he ends up at the park, which feels a little bit more like the forest to him. And when he's at the park, he sees a sandwich. And so, of course, he sneaks up on the sandwich and eats it. But he is seen by all of the dogs at the dog park. So he runs away. He sees his forest. He goes back to his forest. He makes it home just fine. And we find out that that's what happened to the sandwich. The bear ate it. And the story is being told by a little dog who is probably, almost certainly, the one who ate the sandwich. Yes. Yes, there is a really great YouTube. There are so many, especially over the past year, so many authors who have shared their own books on YouTube, celebrities who have shared storybooks. Again, one of the really great positive things to come out of the pandemic and everything going virtual. But I like that one because the perspective, what do they call that? It's an unreliable narrator. And so it's an interesting way, especially with preschoolers, to open up a conversation of, you know, was the dog telling the whole truth? And kind of getting into some of those conversations. So let's go back here. So preschool story time, family story time. Family story time is tricky. I would still try to prepare. How much time, how long your family story time runs depends entirely on what age group shows up. If you have a group that is mostly toddlers with one or two older siblings, use those older siblings as your storytime helpers. Make sure that they know that you would love for them to help you pick up flannel pieces, or that you would love for them to help teach their younger brothers and sisters how to do the finger plays and the rhymes, because they're older and they will know how to do it. This is not an opportunity for them to sit in the corner on a device or on mom's phone. That's bad. They already spend too much time on a device or on mom's phone. It's bad for their little developing brains. We're seeing all sorts of consequences to that type of behavior. Get them involved. If you have older siblings that come with younger brothers and sisters, if you have mostly preschoolers with a couple of younger kids, again, be upfront with the preschoolers and say, hey, you know, the books that we read today may be a little bit shorter than you're used to because we've got some younger ones in here today, and we want to make sure that they're following along and keeping up. So I expect when we sing the song that you guys will know all the words because you're going to be really familiar with it. How you prepare for a family story time, have a little bit of everything. Have a half a dozen songs in your back pocket, have finger plays that would work for both toddlers and preschoolers and babies, have a mix of books that you can pull out and read depending on who shows up. With any of the story times, the more you do it, the easier it's going to be, the more you're going to have in your toolkit to pull out. It's like anything else worth doing. It's going to take practice. It's going to take preparation. Let's see, I think somebody had posted in the chat about some resources from Saroj Goding. She's another one of the national trainers associated with Every Child Ready to Read. We had her a couple years ago to do our ECRR training. She's fantastic. She's super knowledgeable, absolutely amazing. If you want to learn some more information about talking about the skills, that last link is really, really good. So, you know, we talked a little bit about classroom management. Some of the common challenges in story time, which we haven't necessarily had to deal with because we've been virtual. And we don't know what the parents are dealing with at home. That's not really our purview. When we get back to in-person story times here through the summer and moving forward, we will get to see these again and deal with them again on a daily basis, and probably be a little bit more grateful for them because we are back in person. But they'll still be a problem. Parents who don't pay attention because they believe that they're coming to drop their kids off for 45 minutes and take a break. I am the type of person that doesn't necessarily have a problem saying up front to the room, you know, here's the purpose of story time. Thank you all for coming to Storytime today. I'm really excited about what we're going to learn. Parents, please remember that you are the memory for your child. So when they're singing a song and doing a finger play, we really want you to sing the song and do the finger play with them so that when you get home, you can repeat that and help them remember how to do it. So go ahead and put your phones down, put your things away, and get ready to have a good time. Mrs. Smith, I understand that you really want to take pictures of little Johnny, but it's really more important in this moment to play with him than take a picture of him playing by himself. Just say it. They may not necessarily have anybody else telling them those things. And again, it comes back to our job as the early literacy experts in their lives, to have this knowledge and share it with them. Children misbehaving, again, what's developmentally appropriate and what isn't. It is appropriate that toddlers are running around in circles and even making some noise. It is not appropriate if they're hitting each other, and things like that. For preschoolers, unless you have children with special developmental needs, preschoolers have the ability to learn to sit down, to learn to be quiet while you're reading the book, to learn to take turns, to learn to stand in line. all of those social emotional skills that they're going to need going into school, that they may not necessarily have the opportunities to learn at home, and they may not be in any kind of group setting where they can learn those. So that means that at the library is our opportunity to help them gain those valuable skills, which leads right into I'm not a teacher. Well, I'm on the fence with this one, y'all. We are not teachers. We are, in many cases, in 60% of the lives of our children, the only teacher that they know before school. We are the only person modeling school readiness skills and early learning behaviors. I would argue that we are teachers, and that's not a bad thing. We are teachers without necessarily the restrictions and the rules that govern a lot of the teachers in our schools. So we get to educate while having more fun doing it, while not being constricted to standardized tests and curriculum. I think that we can be teachers and we can have a lot of fun doing it. And I think that we can support our teachers and educational staff at the schools, but we're doing ourselves and our families a disservice by saying, I don't want to teach the kids that they need to sit still when I'm talking or when someone else is talking, because I'm not a teacher and that's not my job. I disagree with that. I think that's an opportunity for us. But I've heard it all ways, and I'm not the type of person who's going to say you absolutely must do it this way or you absolutely must not do this thing. That is up for you to figure out what you're comfortable with, what your community needs, what your families are going to respond to. There is my contact information, and let me stop the sharing and let's talk about questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, favorite books, favorite flavor of bubblegum. Mine is peppermint. Watermelon. Oh, cinnamon. My dad chews cinnamon gum, so every time I smell or think about cinnamon gum, I have good thoughts about my dad because he always smelled like cinnamon. Spearmint. There you go. Watermelon bubblegum is the best. I had a bad experience as a child. I used to chew a lot of really sweet flavored bubblegum. We should probably stop the recording since we're totally getting off track. But questions. Anybody have any comments on anything that we learned today? Does playtime work itself into the 30? I would consider it additional. So for a 25-minute toddler story time, I would give another 30 to 35 minutes of playtime. So you've got an hour. I don't necessarily do a playtime for preschoolers. I usually would do, and I would recommend, a craft or a STEAM activity at the end that takes 15 to 20 minutes, again, for an hour or so, total time. So either something that, like I said, either a craft or an activity that they can do. And again, either For preschoolers, I would tend towards something that they can do on their own. But I would still work in every once in a while something that they're going to need caregivers help with, because it aids in that interaction, and that give and take between adult and child that you really want to encourage. That conversational, those conversational turns. Family story times. Thank you, Roberta. A yoga themed story time. Yes, I did those a couple of times. I've done them with a yoga instructor, because you can't do a yoga story time unless you have a certified yoga instructor, or you can do yoga type activities in a story time. There are a lot of really great books that use yoga poses as you read the book. Those are what I prefer to do. And if you have a large group, just keep the movement simple. So just do, you know, 1 or 2 poses, and not ones that are super elaborate or that you're uncomfortable with. It makes for a really good story time about mindfulness, emotional awareness. Jessica, yes, we do have Storytime kits. We haven't been circulating kits for the past year, so we're getting ready to start those up again. You can see the list of kits on the website. We have 2 puppetry kits and a puppet stage. We've got 3 different bilingual Storytime kits, with books, music, activities, puppets. We've got a farm and garden Storytime kit and a couple others that I'm forgetting. And so yes, those, let me stick the website. If you go here, this is the page that has all of our kits. The link is at the bottom of that page to look at the list. I'm hoping to start up circulation next month again. And oh, a puppet story time training. It has been a while since we've done one of those. I feel like doing one virtually would be kind of odd, but let me think about it, Katie Jo. If not, I've definitely got some resources that I can share with you that will help you out. And yeah, we'll see what we can put together. I'm going to need an actual camera and not just my laptop, because I'm going to need a lot more on film. Interesting. Yeah, we can definitely think about that. Puppets can be a little bit weird. Going back to Storytimes, I know a lot of library staff, librarians that like to use a puppet for baby Storytime, especially to model to the parents how you're holding baby in your lap and how you're doing the movements with baby. A puppet or a baby doll. I think baby dolls are creepy. I don't, nope, not holding one of them in my lap pretending that it's a baby. Definitely not happening. Somebody else, if you're comfortable with that, go for it. That's great. I'm good with puppets most of the time. Some of them are a little creepy, but you also have to be careful using them in story time with little kids, because sometimes the kids are afraid of them. So you just have to be aware of your audience with those. Other questions? If you want more information about virtual program best practices, we had one earlier this week with Emily. Trying to say her last name is just gonna ruin my day. Morochek, I think is how she said it. I'll have that recording out, maybe posted by tomorrow. She did a fantastic presentation. And there's also some really great resources from her on ALSC as well. Oh, this is a great question for everybody. What virtual story times? Lori Berkner, that we were playing when we started, she's been doing a great online story time. Obviously works in a lot of music. There's a couple other ones that have been doing a really good job. I'll make sure that I send those links out. Is there anyone else that's had a particularly good one that they want to throw into chat? You know, obviously there's been some good stuff coming out of all of the bigger library systems. Charmec has been doing some really great stuff. Chicago Public Library, New York Public Library. As Emily said in her presentation, they're all out there online. Go see what some of the other folks are doing and use it as ideas for what you want to try and put together. That's what libraries do. We share knowledge. What webinars are planned for future months? Oh, so many things on the calendar. Youth services specific. We've got the ones with Betsy coming up next month. I have something in June. Don't ask me what. Probably not going to do anything for July just because summer reading. Even though most folks are still going to be virtual, that is going to be July, either July or August will be my break. But there's always a ton of stuff up on our Niche Academy. If you haven't explored those offerings, those are available at any time for you to watch and are really, really good. I've also been working for the last couple of months with several other youth services consultants from some of the other states. We're putting together basically an extended version of this training. It's looking at the basics of youth services in libraries. So we're going to go through services to early childhood, services to school-age children, services to teens. And it's going to be a self-paced course in niche. So that will hopefully be done by fall, late fall. And then we also have archived webinars are on the YouTube playlist. You can find stuff on both the CE playlist. If it was anything to do with our food literacy initiative, South Carolina Read, Eat, Grow, we have a Read, Eat, Grow playlist where some of those trainings get listed, like the ones that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks with Chef Steve Harden. And then there's a playlist specifically on YouTube for the youth services things that we've done. So lots of different resources. Great questions. Thank you. And I definitely agree with Katie Jo. Miss Green's story times are fantastic in person, and they are fantastic virtually as well. All right, so we are at 12 o'clock, and we are going to go ahead and stop the recording.